Go to YouTube to learn about YouTube. All right. Let me see here. Okay, the way that I access it, which is easier for me, but when you guys go in and click on the link that I have placed in the announcements, okay, when you click on the link, hopefully something like this shows up, okay? You'll sign in. Your sign-in should be the exact same thing as your Gmail account, whatever your username and password is. It's just easier for me to go through over here, so that's how I'm going to get to it over here, because I don't feel like typing everything in again. So just go through my email. Okay, so the link that I've given you, let's see if it'll now work with YouTube. There we go. All right, so this is my channel. All right, over here where you've got the, I don't know how I'm going to be able to get the board in, but I guess if I have to do the board, we'll turn the camera or something. Okay, so basically over here on the arrow button, if you just hit it a couple of times, it'll give you the option to view all. Now, you can see that I have lots and lots and lots and lots of videos, okay? They are in here as segments, and I didn't realize my little baby doll one was showing. I was taking a class, I was taking a first aid class, and the person who was supposed to be like my subject, okay, got sick. And my video was due, and I didn't know what, I mean, I was like, you know, going, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was like, I went to the store and just trying to get some ideas, and I was like, well, why not use a baby doll? You know, I can demonstrate, you know, rolling them over, putting, you know, that sort of thing. So that's my baby doll video. I thought it was private, but evidently it's not. I don't care. Okay, so basically you're seeing stuff like Fall 2016, Chapter 23, Part 6. Like I was saying, I only get a 15-minute limit on what I can post, okay? So this is actually earlier recordings from Fall, but during the Fall I was teaching Part 2, all right? Now, as I post for this class, I didn't get the ones up that I recorded yesterday, but I'll try to do that tonight. Okay, what I'll do is I'll label them Spring 2017 Chapter 1 Part 1, and because they're the newest video, those are the ones that should show up. Okay, but as you can see, I have videos, quite a few, and just whatever you want to go in and take a peek at, feel free. Okay, it's Part 1 and Part 2 that I have up there. Okay, I don't try to go in and delete them or anything, because I actually have students from previous semesters who are still using these for helping them in their programs. So I don't go in and delete anything. But it should pop up on top for the spring that we're doing right now. Any questions? Okay. All right, well, let's get back to Chapter 1, get this finished up, start Chapter 2. We are going to get the, like the little lab video and lab safety done today, and we'll do Lab 1. So we left off in Chapter 1 yesterday at the point, I think it's going around. Yeah. And so we left off at the point, because Chapter 1, actually when you look at it for any textbook, no matter what class you're taking, for the most part, it's doing this whole covering of what you're going to be doing for the entire text. Okay, so Chapter 1 is doing all of this information, jumping around, talking about this, talking about that, that sort of thing. So we had gotten to the point where we had mentioned the importance of medical terminology. We had mentioned the importance of learning about anatomical position. So we left off at this point because we had gotten to talking about these body cavities, all right? We had talked about the thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, pelvic cavity, put the two together, abdominopelvic, okay? And when we look at these cavities of the body, the cavities of the body are going to be covered in membranes. And there's a lot of good reason for that, all right? First of all, if we think about this trunk region of the body and the cavities that are there, we've got some pretty important structures that are present, all right? We've got a lot of organs that are there. The membranes help with protection. They help with holding those organs in place. But one of the things that I mentioned is when we look at the thoracic, or when we look at, this cavity, this thoracic cavity, we're going to see that the organs there, the lungs and the heart, their coverings are very important to their function, all right? They're membranes. So when we talk about the membranes of the body, one type of membrane is a serous membrane. Have you ever heard the term serous? What does it mean? It means there's going to be a fluid that is present, all right? And they're given the demonstration here, like if you were to take a balloon and, put your fist down into the balloon. Now let's think about that for a second, all right? If we do that, there's a part of that balloon that covers every single fold that we have on our hand, right? And then you have the rest of the balloon doing this number around it with that space in between, all right? When we look at the organs of the body and these serous membranes that are present, it is the same principle. If we think about the heart, for example, the heart, the structure of it, it has lots of little nooks, crannies, and grooves, and so forth. And when we have the membrane, it's going to be a membrane that is wrapping every single nook, cranny, and groove of the structure of the heart, and then the outer portion of that membrane with the space in between. So when this occurs in the body, we say that this membrane has a visceral portion and then a parietal. Any idea what those two terms mean? What does viscera mean?
The visceral, where it's directly touching the organ.
It's the organ, okay? When we say viscera, viscera means an organ. So, if we think about that membrane having these two portions, and the visceral portion, guess what? That's the part of the membrane that is going through every little nook and cranny and groove that's present. The outer membrane is the parietal. In between is the space. And because these are serous membranes, they're lined with fluid. Why is that important? If we think once again about the heart. Not only having that membrane going around every single groove, nook, and cranny, but having a space that's filled with fluid.
I guess it kind of keeps it packaged together, and it keeps it from damage or any type of traumatic.
Yes, it's a very good shock absorber. It helps with keeping it protected. Then, if you begin to look at where the heart's located, it's even further protected by the rib cage. Okay? Very protected organ. Same thing for the lungs. It's going to have a membrane that's running every nook and cranny of the lungs. It'll have the outer membrane, and in between it, a fluid. There are things that can actually go wrong with the fluid in the membranes. We can get an inflammation, for example, pericarditis. Ever heard of that? No? It's not too common, but it's a little more common than what you think. It's actually an inflammation of those membranes. From what I understand, so painful, you feel every heartbeat. That's how, and yeah, from what I understand, very painful. There's one called pleuritis, or the pleura around the lungs. And that's when you feel every breath you take. So it can be pretty serious for anything that can go wrong with these membranes. That fluid is considered like a lubricant, helping, because if you think about it, every time the heart has to beat, every time you have to take a breath, okay, you're actually pushing against other material, and it's supposed to be a really good shock absorber. So it's really cool about these membranes. When we look at the membranes that are going to exist, they're going to be named for the cavities where they can be found and the organs that they can surround. The one that's going to surround the heart is known as the pericardium. What does peri mean? That P-E-R-I, around, okay? Pericardi, you know, cardio is for the heart, all right? So pericardium, telling us it's around the heart. If we begin to look at the term pleura, pleura is going to be associated with the lungs and the thoracic cavity. Peritoneum, that is going to refer to what we find in the abdominopelvic region. So the membranes become very good at protection, shock absorption, some other things that they do, like store fat and everything I don't really like. But hey, you know, what can we do about that other than go on the diet? Now, one of the things that I keep mentioning is we have learned a lot about what we know because of imaging that can be done. Any of y'all had anything done? X-ray, CAT scan, PET scan? What'd you have? All of it. Okay, cool. All right. What'd you do? Like arm, leg, shoulder?
I had cancer muscle, I tore a bunch of stuff in my leg.
Yeah.
Sprained my finger. Had a concussion.
Have you ever like gotten to see any of the imaging?
I like to look at it all.
Yeah, me too. Anybody else? X-rays?
I read an X-ray and
Ultrasound? Yep. Okay.
when I was a kid, I forgot the name of imaging, but they took me into a circle to look into your brain. My ears had an affection, something